All right. So what are we looking up right here? What are we trying to check out? People have been talking trash.
Yeah, man. There've been a few of these. Reddit's great. Some guy DM'd me a Reddit post, another Natty or Not Reddit post. And there have been a few of these that have been done over the years now. But this one was particularly fun because of the comments primarily. The comments got me. They got me good. If I can just get this sent over to Andrew.
Women be shopping and haters be hating.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that women be shopping
Women
thing
be
from?
shopping.
Where is that from?
Come on, Natty Professor.
Yeah.
Oh, the Nutty Professor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Women be shopping.
Fun little tidbit. That's my old username on Instagram, and I still have that. I saved it for an old account. The Natty Professor. I got that because of the Nutty Professor. I think it was back in 2014 or something.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie, but
It still holds up.
yeah.
But because of that, people are throwing flames at you.
So what subreddit is this?
This is the NattyorJuice subreddit. Actually, there's a lot of fun posts on that.
Okay. What's the title so
subreddit.
people can find it? Nsima Inyang, co-host of Mark Bell's Power Project, claims to be a lifelong natty, fake natty, or just good genetics.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
It's a great picture, but like I was saying, I mean, you're so much bigger now. Like,
Andrew, I am not so much bigger now.
Yeah, you are.
Well, actually, now I'm 250. I think I was probably around 240.
What's weird is that you got a lot taller from that time. That's what I find strange.
Yeah.
That's probably the growth hormone, I assume, or the IGF-1.
One of the comments in there, your ass. if you go down, one of them is like Mark Bell juice. It's just like if I'm with you,
That means automatically.
And then
Guilt by association.
yeah. And then there's another
so right here,
there.
I can't pronounce that name.
I wonder what the physiques look like from some of the heat that's coming from these people,
Oh, probably great. They're probably all jacked and lean.
Yeah, the ones I don't get though is like when they get so mad, like this one, Pussy Boy Fake. Or faking. I can't see the.
It was weird to see Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman on there hating on your physique because I think they did pretty well themselves,
Right? Yeah. If you type in Natty bodybuilder on Google, Ronnie Coleman pops up.
Oh, does he pop up?
Yeah.
I'm sure he was natural at some point.
Yeah, at some point. But yeah, the comments, people are mad, man.
And there's nothing you can do about it, right? I mean, you've been drug tested before. Like you competed in a bodybuilding federation that drug tested, right?
WNBF.
Do you get
INBA.
tested at all for jiu-jitsu? Or
No.
they randomly test people?
They randomly test people. Actually, one
How
guy.
come you haven't been randomly tested? I mean,
There's a lot of black belt, but I really hope I do at some point because I think what they do is that I've heard them test the black belts. Kanan Duarte, 2 years ago, or was a year ago in the IBJJF, he's a heavyweight black belt. He got popped for something, so he wasn't able to compete for a year or two, and now he's back competing. But jiu-jitsu is a martial art where a lot of people talk about taking stuff, and it's like you're not supposed to. But since the testing is so, it's kind of seems like kind of random, and there's. Unless, like, I think they usually test people that look like Kanan was jacked, so I think they tested him because he won a lot of stuff, and they're like, okay, let's test him. But it's not something like the WNBF, the federation that I competed in and got my pro card in. They test their off-season pros if they have their pro card.
And then you got tested like recently, like this year, right?
Yeah, I got tested this year. Off-season tested earlier this year, and then I got a bunch of blood work from Merrick just because I wanted to see how everything was going with my test, cholesterol, not just the testosterone, but also everything else to make sure I was like healthy. I got 3 of those. I got that one earlier this year, like in March or April. Another one in October because I wanted to do that little testosterone test to see how Phaedogia agrestis and Tonkat Ali would affect my luteinizing hormone, testosterone, all of that. And then I got one 3 months after that so I could see the results of that. So
Did it seem to have any impact?
A little bit. My luteinizing hormone changed quite a bit. That's on my YouTube channel, and the tests are there. But also, literally all the tests that I've had from Merrick this year, just in case people are interested in what my levels are, or if they want to see if anything looks weird because I'm on the juice, which I'm not. They'll be attached below, so you guys can check that out. But that's the thing; it doesn't matter how many tests I get done, because it'll be either I cycled off, or I was taking stuff when I was younger and I'm not taking it anymore. And
Since
I have
you
the
were like
residual,
12.
Since I was like 12. And I have the residual effects of drug use. So that's why I'm so muscular. There's going to always be something. And I think the interesting aspect of this all is like, okay, you think I'm on drugs. All right. But I just want you to imagine, if you feel so strongly about this, just imagine if I actually, just imagine that I'm telling the truth. Now realize how wild you sound. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're coming at me with like a lot of that shit on those, on that post. Like that's some, damn, like those are some scathing shits. But imagine that I am telling the truth and you're saying all this. It's kind of, you know.
You don't, well, I'd also have to say, and maybe you did this more so in the past, but it's not something, and I know that your old IG was Natty Professor, but at this point, because you're older and more mature and stuff, it's not even something that you really put forward. You don't necessarily talk about it.
Not unless I'm asked about it.
Yeah, occasionally it'll like pop up.
Yeah.
And I do think it's like, I think it's good to mention here and there because that way people can know like, oh, like maybe for me to look something like Bradley Martin or for me to look like something like Nsima or some of these people that I'm seeing online, maybe I don't have to take stuff because I think previously people thought that they absolutely had to.
Yeah.
And for each individual, it might be a little different. Somebody might feel the need to do it and they might feel that they literally quote unquote have to. But you can push your body pretty damn far without doing anything.
Absolutely. I just made a video on my YouTube channel. And it was like, I think it was called like the mind virus of the fitness industry. And it's just the idea that, you know, a lot of people put forward as far as these natty or not stuff like Brandon Harding or whatever, he decided to hop on 3 years into training. And when I was young, there was no YouTube or Instagram or anything. So I just kind of trained. And then I learned about what steroids were when I was like 20 or 21, but I already had like 8 or 9 years of training in. So that wasn't able to, I guess, seep into my mindset as far as training is concerned. But I do mention it every now and then because when people look at me, they already assume that I'm on drugs. I need to make them understand, no, I'm not. I've been training for 16 years now. I've put a lot of work in, right? But the main reason I do put that forward that I am natural is because I do want to encourage people not to go on steroids.
Right.
So if an individual
and I usually try to discourage people from taking them too.
Yeah.
I'm usually trying to push people because I just think the further that you can push them off. I had a friend recently ask me about him. I was like, you'd be better waiting until you're 50, 55, 60. Like just keep pushing that shit back for as long as you can. And if you feel at some point that some performance stuff dropped off, then maybe use them then.
Yeah, and that's the point. I'm not putting that forward because the interesting thing is in this industry, people say that if you say you're natural too much, that's a red flag that you're probably on drugs. But the thing is I'm letting people know I am because I don't think that you need to go down that road. It's kind of odd because within fitness right now, it's great that there are so many people being honest about their drug use. And I think that's great. If you are on, be honest about it. But I think with that comes individuals thinking that that's a necessity to actually get big and strong. Like, again, prime example, Brandon Harding trains at 16, 3 years in, 19 years old, he hops on. Now he's doing fucking growth hormone and insulin and all these things so that he can get to a different level. But there's a lot of young cats paying attention to his content. And they're going to follow suit because that's their guy. That's the person that they look up to. And as much as I think it's great that he's being honest, I also think that if I was that young in this generation and he was the guy that I was paying attention to, instead of putting in 5, 8, 10 years of training patiently, I would try to take that shortcut because Brandon did it. You know what I mean? So I have to let people know, no, I'm not. And just do this. This is what you can do as far as your training. That's the shit we talk about on the podcast. Your habits, your nutrition, your training, all these things over time can get you some extremely good results. I'm not saying you're going to look like me. I'm not saying you're going to look like anybody else, but you're definitely going to get to the best version of yourself.
Right. There's so much to kind of uncover there. What you got, Andrew?
So this comment, although it's like, it's kind of all over the place, but basically they say that like, it's hard to believe because of how thick and lean you are at the same time. It's very, very hard to do that. And you need rare genetics. And so a lot of people are like, it's fake genetics. You know, it's not rare genetics, but I wanted to ask Mark, how rare are rare genetics? Meaning, like, how many Nsima Inyangs have you ever met your whole life?
When you talk about physically, probably not as many. But I also think that there's a huge problem with people finding like what they're good at. So that's a big issue. People not finding, like, he obviously, Nsima, and maybe some sort of genetics that he has propensity to grow muscle really well. And I think the criticism from that person is actually really, really fair. That does make sense. Like, hey, if you were really lean, we'd be like, okay, I think you can just go without eating and just, be really lean and eat enough protein to hold on to some muscle mass. Like, that makes sense. And if you were 185 pounds, I think people would be like, yeah, that makes some sense. That I can see that. But you're like 240, right?
Now I'm 250 because of that. I've been eating a lot of carbs in the holidays, bro. I'm 250 right now, but I'm not as lean as I was in that picture. In that picture, I was 240. So I have a little bit more body fat on me right now.
So, to answer your question, no, I haven't really run into a lot of people that are like him. He's unique for sure when it comes to the physical side of stuff. I mean, we have a gym here and we have a lot of powerlifters in here. And even within the gym, we don't really have a mutant currently, like right at the moment. We don't have like a Jeremy Avila or
Andre Milanichev.
Yeah, we do have Andre Milanichev. So see that once you get into the mutant league, you get into this league of mutants. There's some mutants, and then there's some really mutated people that have really crazy advantages. And Nsima and I were talking the other day about Dmitry Klokov. Oh. There's another guy, who he's probably used some stuff, and I don't know his business, but like a lot of those guys, even in the Olympics, they try to figure out a way to, do what they need to do. I think he won a silver medal. But you can't be Dmitry Klokov. Like, he has so much work that he put into being an Olympic lifter. But then also he's kind of born with these traits that, like, I don't know how you would attain him. He's kind of bow-legged. His legs kind of bow out, but then he's also pigeon-toed at the same time, where his feet are kind of like not only straight forward but pigeoned in a bit.
Yes.
That kind of stuff, like, it loads up your hip like really, really crazy when you get into these positions. Stan Efferding is another freak, another complete mutant. Stan can't really even walk straight. Like, his feet are so ducked out. You're just like, how is this guy an athlete? And then Stan will fuck you up. Stan is a really, really athletic, explosive, strong person. Like, he knows a little bit on how to fight. He knows a little bit on how to wrestle. He's a professional bodybuilder. He was a professional powerlifter.
Yeah.
When Stan turns his feet straight, my whole point in kind of bringing this up, when he turns his feet straight, it's different for him versus everyone else that just is going to turn their feet straight. His feet are always like this. So the second that he just turns the toes in just a little bit to do a squat, his hip is loaded up with tons and tons of like tension almost. And he's able to produce a lot of force from that. And then that's how he's able to, squat 900 pounds. Yeah. But the other thing that I'm going to say here is that you can't, like, I think people have the wrong idea of some of this stuff. So I think that people think they're going to get with a company like Merrick and they're just going to take some testosterone and that things are going to be awesome and they're going to be off to the races and they're going to be able to build the physique that they finally wanted to build. You can't build the physique that you want to build with a crappy foundation or crappy habits.
Yeah.
You need to be able to have a good habit with your sleep. You need to be, it's very crucial that you have a good habit with your food. If you don't have those things, and Nsima grew up with a lot of those things. You grew up bodybuilding. You grew up thinking like, I'm going to slap on some muscle mass and I'm going to work on getting bigger without getting fatter. That's bodybuilding.
And I was also extremely fortunate of having a mother that was extremely into health. Like, my mom wasn't somebody, like, she was very fit because she did shot put and track in Nigeria when she was younger. But outside of that, she was someone who never could drink any sodas at home. We were always eating real foods. Like, there was never any Lunchables or any type of this shit. We'd be eating rice, meat, stew, goat meat. Like, there'd always food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My mom fed me well in a healthy way. And a lot of individuals don't have that, sadly. And I was lucky. I was lucky in that sense.
What about like a birthday or something? Would you have cake?
Nah, bro.
Really?
Like, there would be that, but like, I wouldn't get to indulge. Like, I'd maybe there'd be a slice of cake or a little bit of something, but she never was like, she never allowed me to indulge in junk food.
Right.
And even...
But it was a big deal. Like you've gotten in trouble a bunch of times for, right?
Bro. All right, immigrant parent, man, they'll spank, and I had no problem with it. But I remember there's this time we went to this. It was a party for a school thing, and the teacher's like, "Oh, Nsima, would you like a soda?"
Yeah.
And I looked at my mom, and my mom she just was smiling and shit. And I was like, "Yeah." So I go and I take the Pepsi. I'm chugging it in the corner, and I look at my mom. She's like. I had in my ass. I remember I had that shit. I was like, I knew what that meant. I got home. Whoosh, whoosh. It's like I told you, don't be drinking soda out there. But
like, you know how many followers you're losing right now on Instagram?
No. But yo, like the spankings my mom gave me, they were all because I know some Americans listening. They're like, but nah, man, they were
no, but spankings. Like honestly, you don't want your kid to run out into the street, right? Because you think it's unsafe.
Yeah.
Do you want your son to drink 60 grams of sugar?
Fuck no.
When he's like still growing, like. Maybe she just felt like, hey, that's dangerous. Like, I don't want that shit in our house. I don't want you to touch it. I don't want you to. Then plus on top of that, you played soccer. And so there's a lot of other stuff going on. But what I was going to get to is that you would have to take a very specific cocktail to get the results that you're thinking of. So you look at like Joe Aesthetics and the person that you mentioned, and you look at some of these guys, they're not getting their physique with just TRT. It's not just testosterone. And that's why Nsima sometimes when we get into the weeds of some of this stuff and we have Jake Benson on and Joe Sullivan, we have some of these people that talk really, really deeply about the chemistry that goes behind sometimes the physique that they have or the lifts that they're hitting. Even for myself, as much as I know, I'm like, Jesus, that's a lot of work. Like insulin, you take it nearly every day. Growth hormone doesn't work as good unless you have insulin with it.
Go listen to that episode, guys. By the way, Jake Benson, Joe Sullivan, they talked about a lot of things that we've had a lot of guests on, but I've never heard them talk about the shit that Jake and Joe talked about.
Right.
So,
and someone like Joe Aesthetics, I think he's talked about like his insulin usage and some of these things. And I'm not promoting any of it. What I'm saying is that I believe that what Nsima has going on inside his body and what you've had going on inside your body from when you were young is a combination of your genetics and your epigenetics, which is what you have done and your environment that you grew up in. Mm-hmm. So you have a cascade of hormones that are almost always favorable. It's not like you have some unfair advantage. You worked for some of those. Some of those were maybe gifted to you. We can argue about that. But we all have these little gifts. And if you find the thing that you have a gift in young, like playing the piano or being an artist, we know people like this. David Garibaldi, he knew he was going to be an artist since the time he was like 3. And he's fucking awesome at it, right? So do we sit back and be like, that motherfucker, like his genetics, bro, but we're not sitting here being like, dude, I think that motherfucker's on Adderall. Like he's on some shit to make him that. That's the only
way you can paint that good.
He's on some shit to make him that way. But your epigenetics, the environment that you grew up in and the environment that you start to build and make for yourself is going to be the thing that is really going to be able to open up the hormones and the genes that you have access to. They might be pretty good. They might not be great, but you will never fully open up. I think Thomas DeLauer mentioned some stuff like this on our show too. You're never going to fully open up your full genetic potential unless you are really leaning into it very, very hard. And I think for someone like Nsima, he might not even realized how hard he was leaning into it because I think you were having fun doing bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I think you really loved soccer. And the way you ate at home was just the way you ate at home because that's mom's rules and she'll whoop your ass.
Exactly. There's a few things though, man. Like the first thing, I've mentioned this before on the podcast, and Andrew's the one who kind of got me, I think, into Joe Dispenza's books years ago. The book "You Are the Placebo" by Joe Dispenza. We talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but there's a lot of things in that book which I think people would get a lot from as far as believing that they can do something or believing that they can't. Because when you, like, there's so many instances of that book where they talk about an individual believing that they could, like that study that was mentioned in the book where they sent all those old people into the home, and literally those people started aging backwards. They started putting down their walkers, getting out of wheelchairs, etc., because they were in settings that allowed them to do things that they did in the past. Their physiology changed because of the belief that they had. It's going to sound quacky to some people, but you know, when you're a young guy or whatever, and you're in your fitness, and everyone's saying that you have to take drugs to get to a certain point, you implant this idea that, first off, I know I'm not going to get that big, or I know I'm not going to get that strong if I don't hop on. And that belief is going to have an impact on the way you train, on the intensity of which you train, on how much effort you put in over time. Because if you automatically don't think you're going to be able to do something because there's this limiter, there's this lack of drug use that you're not doing, well, you're going to always be trying to fight a potentially losing battle. That's one thing. The second thing is, that was one book that I think is super beneficial, but another book that I gift to all of my friends is the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. I heard about this book from Tom Bilyeu a few years ago, and I read it, and it's the book with the idea that, you know, when kids are young, a lot of parents somewhat say, oh, you're so smart, you're so intelligent, you're this, you're that, rather than implanting the child with the idea of, if you put effort in, this is what you're going to get from it. My mom never told me I was smart. My mom never told me I was intelligent. My mom always, and she didn't read this book, but I guess for some reason she knew that she needed to implant within me that the work I put in is what I'm going to get out, right? So I never really thought that I was a smart kid. This is an example. When I was young, my mom, I would like hear music on TV or whatever, jingles or whatever. We had a little keyboard, so I'd kind of just like fuck with the keyboard and play those jingles. And she was like, "Oh, okay, let's get you in some piano classes." But this is the thing. I don't think I was particularly talented, but I do think because she saw that, she put me in piano classes at the community college when I was younger, and I started being able to play I started learning that, and I was really good when I was young because she showed it to me, and I was just like practicing or whatever, and I got really good at piano over the years. She had me take math classes.
But you're also, like, not today, you're not extraordinary at it because you didn't stick with it.
Because I didn't stick with it.
You mentioned, you're like, I kind of wish I did, but like,
I really wish I did.
You just, for whatever reason, weren't as interested as you needed to be, probably.
I wasn't as interested in it as I was with sports, because she gave me a decision when high school came. She's like, if you want to keep pursuing it, you can. If you don't, because I played the piano, the clarinet, the sax. I played all those instruments. And I can still play the sax and clarinet, but piano would take me some practicing. But I chose to stop those. You know what I mean? I wish I didn't, though, looking back as an adult, and I can always restart it.
I think that you have belief systems, too, that you don't always share, because I think you're fairly humble. You know, like I think I've seen on your Instagram before, and I think you've changed things because you're just like, I don't know, people aren't going to get it. I don't know if it's still on there, but you said like be an anomaly or something like that. Yeah. And I think you have strong beliefs in yourself that you can, and I believe, if you told me something, I would be like, yep.
Yeah.
Like if you told me I'm going to do a 360 dunk or something, I'd be like, hey, look, man, anything that's physical, I'm going to just not doubt. You know, if you said something that you're going to do something and it was like maybe I would believe in anything that you said, but I would be maybe more suspect if it was something that you weren't currently prepared for.
Of course.
And you're like, I'm going to do this. And I would be like, you might get hurt trying that, but you still will probably get there because you're pretty relentless with stuff.
But this is one more thing I want to mention, because the genetic idea, right? As much as I know genetics are real and they're important, and some people are going to flame me for this one. My mom also, she put me, because I was doing piano in community college, like as a 7-year-old, she put me in math classes. I finished calculus by freshman year of high school. So I didn't have to take math in high school because she put me on all those things. But again, I am not smart, okay? I just understand that if I want to do something, I just have to learn about it. Right. I don't pick up things fast. I don't read quickly or whatever. I'm not like, I don't, because people are like, oh, you must be super smart for that. No, I was just put in front of these things and had the opportunity to learn them.
Yeah, which is amazing by your mom. Like, that's what being a parent's all about.
It's amazing by her. But this is the thing. She never praised me on, like, you're so smart or whatever. She always said, look at how hard you're working and look at what you're getting out of it. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, it's literally the work. So the genetics thing, as true as it is, I just hope that individuals don't chalk everything up to your genetics. That's another thing that Joe talks about in that book that I think is so important because, okay, yeah, clearly, okay, I have good genetics for this, but also I've been doing a lot of it for a long time. I've been very physical since I was really young, not just with lifting, but also with sports, nonstop. There is a level of like belief and work you need to put into anything. And no, we're not saying that if you train for 15 years, whatever, you'll look like me, but you will look really fucking good. You know what I mean? That's why, like, whenever people say the genetics thing, I'm just like, I get it. I know that's there. But if you, again, I think that's one of those things where you say, oh, it's just the genetics. That's another limiter that you kind of put on yourself because now you're like, ugh, I can't do that because I don't have the genetics for it, right?
Let's flip it a little bit. And there's many people, I'm even close to some people that are like this. Their parents were super strict about their nutrition growing up, and they are fat as hell because they went the opposite way. You know, for some reason, at some point, they like almost like being in the military, like the guy that has to make his bed every day and keep his haircut all perfect. He says, fuck it. And he's got a mullet when he gets out of the military, smoking cigarettes, and he never makes his bed type of thing, right?
Yeah.
That happens to a lot of people. You made some choices like okay, mom showed me this. These are things that I think are a good structure, and they happen to run alongside with athletics. They happen to fit perfectly into bodybuilding. It's like she didn't allow you. I don't think you were ever fat, right?
No, I started
because you got injured, right?
I started gaining weight like when I was like 13 through 16 is when I got the heaviest because that's when I started having
to going crazy and stuff too.
And I couldn't play soccer because of Slaughter. So that's when the gym started. The gym started at 13 because I couldn't run, and I was 220 by 16. It wasn't the cleanest 220, but it was good.
Yeah,
I lost about 25 to 30 of those pounds when I started playing soccer again.
But see, what happens for some of us is that like at those ages, you kind of learned, whether you were thinking about it or not, that like continuing to move is going to be really important because you're like, I could be a big boy if I don't figure out movement, right?
Yeah.
But I'm imagining, because these are things that happen for me, that you're getting noticed, you're getting recognition, you're getting compliments from friends and people around you, like people in school. Sometimes they'll tease you about it, but hey, look, as a teenager, like any attention you're getting is kind of almost fair game. You know, it's welcome, right?
Kenzel Murph, I was wearing a brown t-shirt. Nsima, your biceps so big. What?
Yeah.
First compliment from a girl, bruh. I remember that. Brown t-shirt. I went like this, and she was like, ah. I was like, ooh.
And then your friends are like trying to make fun of you because they're trying to like, you know, nullify the situation or whatever. Yeah. And you quickly recognize like, hey, I don't know, this might be something for me. Like people are paying attention to it. And it makes you feel amazing, you know, because your friends are like, you're the strong guy. You're the guy that can do this. You're the guy that can do that. And you get recognition for that. And you lean into that more and more. When I was a kid, you know, my oldest brother, he played football for the University of Cincinnati. He was a Division I football player. He did really well in football. He went into professional wrestling. Chris played football. Chris did some high school wrestling. And then Chris later, you know, became like a filmmaker and stuff. And we all kind of had these big dreams. Like my family kind of teased and kidded around about it, but I was very athletic when I was young, at least in comparison to those around me. I don't know how athletic I was overall, but they called me the chosen one. And they'd kid around about it. I'd be like, this dude, like, I don't know what the difference is with this kid, but this kid's gonna like do something with himself. And
you benched like some massive amount of weight when you were young, right? What was it? It was like,
yeah, I think I was maybe 16. I think I did like 365 or something like that.
I didn't get that till I was an adult, dude. Like, what the fuck?
I remember one of my teachers was like, He knew that I did like a powerlifting contest, because I think I might have told you guys, my mom would like call the school and be like, my son did this, and then it would announce on a loudspeaker, and I would just turn like bright red, and I'd be like, oh my god, no one even knows what powerlifting is. Mom, don't call the damn school.
Oh man.
But my teacher was like, how much did you bench? And I think it was like 335 or something like that.
Jeez.
And he was like in disbelief. He's like, that can't be. He's like, I work out all the time. He's like, and I bench 275. And I remember just being like, well, sometimes that's the way things are. And he was like, he was, kidding around, but he was kind of mad, and it was in front of the whole class, and like everyone laughed and stuff. But those kind of things, they stick with you. Mm-hmm. Just like sometimes bad comments or bad things stick with you, and you can kind of remember some of those things, and they could lead you all the way to crying. But sometimes you get a compliment, and sometimes that little boost or that little compliment that you got from somebody is almost like a mentoring thing. They didn't even know it. They didn't even realize it. Mm-hmm. I heard Jocko Willink talking about this more recently, and he said, be very careful with your words, because you don't know who you are to certain people. So for people that are, trying to become successful, and for people that are starting to stick their habits together pretty well, if you start getting some recognition for that, that's a good time to like, you can still cut into people, and you can still like tease and stuff, but you want to be careful, because you could have that impact. And on the same note, saying just one thing positive, boom, could get someone, to be super motivated. You gave a compliment to Ryan Soper. He's probably on cloud nine, because getting a compliment from you on physique is different than getting a compliment from just some random person that's not that jacked.
Yeah, dude. Ryan was looking crazy. He was. I really walked into the gym like, wait, why do you look like that?
Yeah, dude, what's going on with your shoulders, bro?
Long sleeve shirt. This guy was pumped through a long sleeve shirt. That's some wild shit.
Yeah.
That's funny. We were just
He
walking,
looked jacked.
walking
He
past,
looks jacked.
walking past each other in the store a couple days ago. I'm just like, you putting on some size right now or what? And he's just like, I don't know. I'm like, dude, you look pretty fucking jacked right now. And you're just like walking around. He's like, oh, thanks, dude. So yeah, he's doing something good.
He's another guy. He's got pretty good genetics. His genetics aren't like insane or something. He's not just walking around shredded without doing anything, but he's in great shape, stays in great shape, but he always talks about how he's got to fight for it.
Yeah. There's two other things that are super important. And damn, it's always my mom, dude, because like she would always like really grill me on the way I said things about myself, like my self-talk. And even to this day, if I ever say something like, I remember I made a video about this, but I remember calling her, and she was like, are you gonna be able to come visit today? I'm like, mom, today's not a good day for that. I was like, and she's like, what do you mean today's not a good day? Like, say that again. I'm like, I'm just a little bit too busy today. It is a good day, but I'll make sure to see you tomorrow or the next day. And it's like that with everything. Like if I ever speak about something in a negative way, and that's why I don't these days. Like I'm very, very careful with my words about everything. I never say I can't do that. I always phrase things differently, because I know that the way I say things is going to inform the way that I think. That's why everyone that's close to me, whenever I hear them say some shit, I don't know what that is. Whenever I hear them say something,
My stomach.
I always grill them. Like I grill Andrew, my homies. If I ever hear them say something like that, you can't, I find this or whatever, I always grill them on that shit, because I know that the way you say shit is super fucking important. And that'll have an effect on the way you think things.
We had David Graydon on the show, the real estate investor, raking in 100 million, whatever. He's working on 250 million next year, or like he's just cranking through stuff. And I corrected him a bunch of times. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. I don't think that you should say stuff that way. And I gave him other options, and he's like, you're right. You're fucking right. Like if I'm going to be a savage, if I want to do better, you're 100% correct.
Absolutely. And then like she, I've mentioned this before, but the tattoo on my hand that has the limit with a line through it. She always...
Did she beat your ass when she found it, or has she not found it?
She hasn't.
Oh, no.
She hasn't seen it. I've been in front of her so many times, but I guess since it's such a small tattoo on the hand, she hasn't noticed that. I'm not going to say anything, because Tattoos for Nigerians? What? No, we don't get tattoos.
You can't wait for the day that we have your mom on the show and we just divulge all this dirt.
Bro.
He does so many nootropics.
Nah, shut up, bro. No, be quiet. We don't know if she's going to hear this one, so could you guys just please chill? But the saying, the sky's the limit, she hated that saying because it already put like a limit on things. This shows you kind of the way she thinks. So
why end it at the sky?
That's why she says the sky's not the limit. That's why, like, she would tell me that all the time. And that's why I got that limit with the line through it. Like, it's the way you believe things, it's the way you say things, that informs the way you think, and that informs the way you act. And that shit's been grilled into me. And that's the only thing I want people to try to grill into themselves.
I've heard somebody say, like, once you get past the sky, like, what is there? There's space, right? And then there's, when you get into space, you just like float. You know, so like you're up, you worked that hard to get there, you know, and then now you're there, and like maybe things might be a little easier, but we know that that's never the case. Shit always just you always find more stuff to throw your way. Want to take us on out of here, Andrew? I think we covered all of it. I think
so, and I would like everyone to sound off in the comments, especially all the jealous ones that think Nsima's a fake natty. And please follow the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram.
How do they get Merrick?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, good call. Sorry. Yeah, so we talked about the, actually, if you guys do want to check out all of Nsima's labs for the entire year, you guys can check these. I'm going to put a Google Drive link down in the description below, and those are all coming from Merrick, a legit TRT, HRT, telehealth clinic. I guess they can't call them a clinic anymore. Whatever they are, they're the clinic that Derek from More Plates, More Dates always talks about because it's his clinic, and so that's who we go with as well. And
I'll also put my drug test from the WNBF. I'll put those
even better. So an actual drug test. Head over to MerrickHealth.com. That's MAREK Health.com. And you guys can, like I said, you can hop on the phone with them or you can chat with them, depending on whatever you guys want to achieve, whether it be TRT or you just want to get some labs done. And when it comes time to pay for those labs, use promo code PowerProject10 for 10% off all of those labs. Again, links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Please follow the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on TikTok and Twitter. My Instagram and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where are you at?
Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, and Nsima Yin on TikTok and Twitter, Mark.
I also want to kind of finish up by saying that anyone that like cuts their body fat very low or cuts their body fat, like let's just say in half, say someone who's listening is 20% and they cut down to 10%, or someone's 10% and they cut down to 5%. Probably nearly every single person that listens to this show that already has a couple of years of training, as soon as they do that, they'll be accused of taking steroids because you will look fucking awesome. Like look at Tristan Lee. Like I know that kid's like unbelievably shredded and diced up, but like, and again, like I don't barely know him. I don't know half of these people. Like I don't know them. I'm like in their house, you know, it's like, I have no idea what their habits are, what they do, but anyone that gets really, really lean, even Andrew at whatever you weigh now, if you cut your body fat in half, that would be all the comments like, man, he must be using something. And it's not necessarily always the case. Right. But if you get shredded, people are going to be like, oh shit. Anyway, in the comments, maybe you guys can let us know, like, what do you think would give you some sort of peace of mind? Like, do you think that we should have Derek, send us some sort of test that he thinks is like the greatest test to see if someone's natty or not? I don't think any of those things really solve a problem, but maybe you guys do. I think your best bet is just to not put limits on yourself and not think that you have to do anything the way that other people may have done them just to get a similar result. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you all later. Bye.